you may not know anything about selling a house because you've never done it before, but you sure do know a lot about the people who you surround yourself with, and you know a lot about their struggles and their problems. So serve those people based off their issues. And this may sound stupid, but if you're new in the industry and you're that lady and you are surrounded by a bunch of people in the fire department, pick up the phone and call them. Hey, if you were to buy a house right now, what would be the number one question you have, knowing that your husband or that your wife is stationed here?
So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome, LabCoatAgents. Today, we're going to be talking about the challenge, as most of you like to say, of growing your Instagram. And actually, it's not so much about growing your Instagram, it's about connection and becoming a celebrity or the authority locally. And we have the person, this way. She's this way on my screen, who is the expert on all things Instagram. Michelle, I think you and I met first time ever was on the LabCoatAgents podcast. So this is very appropriate. Welcome back, my friend.
Well, I am so excited to be here. This kind of feels like home in a weird way. So I'm grateful to be a part of it. And, I don't know if anybody who's here watching has ever seen, any of our interaction, but I certainly love you, Jeff. And this is just something that I'm super passionate about sharing. So I'm excited.
Awesome. So we titled this one, Creating a Hyperlocal Following on Instagram. And so I want to start with this because I think that, and I hear this all the time. I was just talking to somebody earlier today who reached out to me, and everybody struggles with the concept of growth on Instagram because growth on Instagram is very, very hard. So let's start there. Let's even digress even further back. I'm sorry. Let's start with why Instagram is so critically important to your social media game as it relates to the connection to Facebook. And then let's get over to the growth on Instagram. So let's start there.
So why, your first question being why do I choose Instagram, and ultimately why do I feel like it's such an important platform? Is that where we're going?
Let's start there. Let's start with that.
Yeah. So Instagram, to me, of all of the platforms that we have available to us to be able to establish and lead generate, Instagram, in my opinion, is the most authentic to who we are, right? It gives us the opportunity to allow people to genuinely get to know us as real humans, not just in the content that we are creating on the business side, but also in our opportunity to be behind the scenes with one another, to stay connected to one another. Jeff, you and I were on in the pre-recording saying like, hey, long time no chat. But in reality, like, you and I are connected every single day. You know everything that's going on in my life every day. For the most part, I know everything going on in your life every day. And we don't have to text every single day in order to accomplish that. And I think that that's what Instagram affords us, is to maintain relationships, stay top of mind in relationships that matter to us without having to physically connect with them via text or via phone call every single day. So you just can't get that in other platforms. I think that Facebook certainly gives you an opportunity, but at the same time, Facebook is a little bit more of a polished platform in many cases. It's a lot more group dominated than it is anything else. Whereas Instagram is, this is me, this is who I am, this is what I do. But also, hey, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I have bad days, I have good days. And I also really know what I'm talking about when it comes to work.
Love it. And not to mention also the other big reason why Instagram should be your focus, in my opinion, beyond the groups piece on Facebook, is because it connects to Facebook, but not vice versa. And so therefore, when you are focusing on Instagram, you just push a couple of buttons and all of a sudden everything you're doing is killing two birds with one stone. And it's just more efficient on your time. So even though we say, and I agree with Michelle, focus on Instagram, you're just killing two birds. Do it anyway, because you're automatically going to be posting back to Facebook. So, all right, cool. So let's talk. Good.
But I was just going to say, what I would piggyback off of that is, when I teach people how to do Instagram better, that automatically levels up your Facebook if you do everything that you should be doing better on Instagram, right? So if you're connecting the platforms, as you said, you're killing two birds with one stone, and you're doing it at a much higher level if you take the advice of those who are walking that. And Anita just asked in the chat box, I'm not on Instagram, how do I even start? And girl, I would tell you, just download the app, create a username, create a profile, and get to getting. It's that simple. It's definitely not rocket science there. It's more about ripping the Band-Aid off and just committing to, I may not know what I'm doing, but I'm going to start anyway, and going from there.
Yeah. And to follow up on that too, two things that you said. One, she mentioned, like, we have a parasocial relationship by definition. Now, we actually have a personal relationship. We know each other and we've hung out with each other, but by and large, this is what you're trying to create, which is parasocial relationships. And that is really, I would say, more defined on Instagram than probably any other platform, because the platform was designed originally to be the anti-Facebook. Now it's since shifted and evolved, but that was what it was designed for. People just wanted to watch and they wanted to see images. Now it's, gosh, 98% video, like everything else. But that's the whole point. The point is to make connections. And that's what we're going to talk about today. It's not about virality. It's not about following. It's about becoming the authority. It's about connecting with people. And that's what Michelle is the best at. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the following aspect. And if you have questions, feel free, put them in the chat. If you're watching this on Facebook, I will actually log into my phone and keep an eye there as well. So if you have questions, feel free to ask them. We'll try to get to them, but let's talk about that, because that is probably the age old question everybody asks. I struggle like hell to grow my Instagram. And I think a lot of people end up vacating it as a result of it, but they shouldn't. And so talk about that.
Yeah. So I'm thinking as we're going here, and I have a specific slide. I'm going to skip most of the beginning half of the presentation because I don't feel like I need it with Jeff, with you and I. But there's one particular slide that I am going to show because it pertains specifically to this conversation, right? Which is, people want to grow and they want to grow hyper locally. And I'll never forget this email because it absolutely blew my mind. But I got an email from a gentleman who said, can you take me off your email list because I live in Dayton, Ohio, and nobody in Dayton, Ohio uses Instagram. And I was literally laughing out loud when I received this email, because I thought to myself, one, that's completely false, first off. Two, even if it were remotely true, isn't that the main and the exact reason why you should be on Instagram, if you think about it that way, right? So when we're talking about this, we're talking about creating a hyper local following, which is my specialty for that matter. I mean, I have students and clients in 47 states now, including Hawaii, right? Everyone wants to say, oh, Hawaii is the hardest market to grow a follow. No, it's not. So hyper local followings, what that means, right, is that we're generating eyeballs in the exact place that we actually serve, from people that we can actually generate business from. And you go farther than that. Let's say you want to grow a referral network of other agents that are within your brokerage in other states. Can you use Instagram to do that? 1000%. Can you be a flipper and generate leads for people that that are trying to sell shit houses for you to buy? 100%. I have a client in Arizona. That's all they do. He posts, I need houses to buy for cash. Send me DMs. And he just gets DMs all day. Right. So can you do what you guys want to do? Yes. Can you do it irregardless of what facet of real estate you might specialize in? Yes. I think it's the most important thing before we get into that is the mindset shift, right? You have to let go of well, this can't work for me because my business is unique. Your business may be unique, but that gives you a unique opportunity. And so that's what I really think people need to hear before we dive into like the true weeds of all of it.
That's awesome. So when, as going back to the question, which is, where do I even get started? Which, obviously the answer is, of course, download the app and consume, be a consumer first before you probably are a creator, and then start to become a consistent creator. Let's talk about that. Like, what is it? Because I think a lot of people listening are probably a lot of people in the same boat. They've either A, they're just like Anita, they've done nothing, or B, they've been there, they just haven't done much. And again, because of the lack of, as they would call it, growth, because it's a lot easier on Facebook to gain friends versus followers on Instagram. And so as you're talking to a real estate audience, what is it that should be their focal point of content? Like, where should they be finding inspiration in order to, again, connect with more people and pick up followers, but meaningful followers?
So I'm gonna screen share in 2 minutes. I'm gonna answer part one, and then I'm gonna go into the tactical piece of where I think people need to go with this. So the thing you need to know is that to get what you want on Instagram, you have to do the work, right? This is not a platform that allows for you to just be on a suggested friends list, and that's the main source of your new eyeballs, right? Instagram is a platform that is going to give you what you put into it. So generating engagement is the answer to your question, right? How do you do what you want to do? How do you get what you want to get? You have to be willing to engage, and there's very strategic ways to be able to do that. But engagement is one of those things people think, well, I don't have time to do that, or how would I even make that worth my time? Like, I don't even know where to start, right? And the answer to that question is, who's your person, right? Who is the person that you actually want to be generating business from? And that's a whole nother presentation, right? A whole nother even conversation, forget the presentation, but it's a whole nother thing, because people, whether you've been in the industry for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 30 years, people don't know how to answer that question. And Jeff, you and I have a mutual friend, Valerie, who came to one of my private events, and she still couldn't answer that question, right? Of who is my ideal client. She's been in the industry for I don't know, almost 40 years.
Maybe longer, maybe longer.
You may think you know who you serve, but really being able to have that statement of, I'm a former veteran specializing in working with other veterans who want to learn how to utilize their VA benefits to buy a home for 0% down. Like, if you can rattle off a statement like that, that's how you truly know that who you are as an agent. And being able to engage then gets very, very easy when you have that piece of it figured out. So to grow, right, you have to know who you are. You have to create content to create connection first and foremost. Serve over sell, right? I know this is something that I say all the time, but like, you have to serve your audience selflessly, not sell your audience selfishly, right? So that's a tongue twister to say fast, but serve, don't sell. And so your content needs to say, hey, this is just a story of something else that happened with another one of my clients. And if this is something that resonates with you, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to, assist you, or I'd be more than happy to educate you, right? Versus send me a DM if you want to buy a house today, right? Because I think people sell more than they serve. And if we went into creating content with a servitude attitude, we'd sell all day long. But people just get it backwards.
Yeah. I just read a stat recently about the most popular day to go to car lots has always been the day they're closed. Why? Because we don't want salespeople coming up to us. So when just to expand on what she just said, was when you go, and I saw somebody just recently commented on it was Will Smith or Chris Rock's apology post saying, "Hey, I'm a realtor," and I'm like, "Are you serious right now? Like." Do you really think that's what anybody wants? You really think that's why people open up the app? Do you really think, that's the reality, why people go to social media? Social media. It's not real estate media. It's not business media. It's social media. They're going there to kill time, and they're going there for mindless content. They're going there to be entertained. They're going there to connect with people. And so give them what they want. And so as we talk about the whole concept behind that content, and I think it's important for people to understand this. If you don't understand this yet, I'm going to drive this home. And that is, right, giving your audience what they want to connect with them, because this algorithm works like every other algorithm. And the name of the game is getting engagement. The more engagement you get, the more you're going to show up on people's feeds, and the more you can end up connecting with them. So as you talk about becoming hyper local and you talk about that content, I think a lot of people struggle with just creativity. And so they fall back on, okay, I'm a real estate agent, therefore I should stand in front of my listing and talk about this house. I should post about the all of the stats and the latest sales from March and February. And I should give them the latest listings and the latest sales. And this is what they want, right? Because this is what I do. And the answer is absolutely freaking not. It's not what they want. What do they want?
So this is going in a unique direction, and I secretly love it. But
not so secretly anymore.
Not secretly. I don't know if you noticed that too, but I hope you have your cup, Jeff. Just saying.
Upstairs.
But dang it, you're fired. So here's the thing, right? Is when people go to Instagram, people are, as you said, you mentioned it, people go for mindless content. People go for hey, I'm sitting on the couch at 5 o'clock. I just had a long day. I'm having a White Claw, and I'm like, man, today was hard. What can I pay attention to that is going to make me feel mindless, right? It's just like, I don't have to even think about what's going on in my life today. And it kind of is that let's make time stand still kind of feeling. And so you have to realize that the people who will connect with you as an agent are looking for content that has nothing to do with you being an agent, right? So if I go to, as somebody who, teaches this for a living, if I were to go to your Instagram and I see nothing but listings or market data or the interest rates rising, as a consumer, right? I also own a home. My husband and I have bought and sold 2 houses, going on our 3rd here, we get it, right? But that's not what I care about when I'm looking at Instagram. That's not what's going to make me want to hire you. Your market data, where you're like, here's the top 5 cities in my area, and here's a market snapshot of these 5 cities. Like, nobody reads that. Like, nobody, right? So if you want to scroll stop, if you want somebody to care about what you're producing, think about, hey, my end user, right? For example, I live in a very small military town. Jeff knows this, but I had to buy a house sight unseen. I was 37 weeks pregnant when my husband found out he was getting the job that we now had to move to this small town for. And so I couldn't physically travel to where we are in order to buy a house, in order to even look at the area. Like, I had to trust the situation that was happening or unfolding, right? So for me to choose an agent, or for me to even find where I was trying to buy a home, I had to go to Instagram to just look up hashtag Leesville real estate agents, right? Luckily, Jeff knew a loan officer here, so that certainly helped. But the point of the matter is, when you are trying to produce content to get someone to find you, you have to think about, hey, Michelle's the end user, right? So let's use myself here. Michelle's the end user. She's 37 weeks pregnant, moving to a town that she's never been to, doesn't know anybody, doesn't know what cities are best to live in, doesn't know what areas or what streets are off limits. So how can I, as an agent, portray information about something like that can make Michelle's life easier when she's deciding that she has to move here, right? And I'm speaking about a military town, so there's a lot of options and a lot of opportunity to be able to help that audience. But if your audience, let's say, is a first-time home buyer, right? My sister-in-law and brother-in-law, for example, just bought a house in St. Louis. They were looking in their favorite neighborhood ever, and they couldn't afford it, right? Every single house in the neighborhood, in order to get it, was over what their budget was, not because the list price was, but because they knew they were going to have to go way over in order to get it. So instead, their agent was able to educate them on other neighborhoods that were more up and coming, that were going to slowly turn into what that dream neighborhood ultimately was. Ended up getting a house for about $40,000 under what their top budget was, so that they can now put $40,000 into the house to make it what they want it, or what they want it to be. So when you're producing content, right, if that's your person, the first-time home buyers that want to be in the dream neighborhood, guess what? The person who wants to be in that dream neighborhood is actually struggling with. It's how do I come up with an extra $40,000 to get into this neighborhood? Well, guess what? You don't have to. Now, let me tell you a story about why you don't have to, or how you don't have to, right? Post a picture of a house that is totally gutted on the inside, and in the caption, tell me the story, right? That's what's going to get people to scroll stop. Post a picture of a house that's been totally wrecked and just trash, right? And tell a story about how, your first-time home buyer was able to buy this, and here's a reel of a before and after of that property, right? Now we're talking about scroll stopping content that's actually going to make people then click to your profile and ultimately make that decision of, wow, this person is an agent, and also clearly knows what they're doing. Look at all the other content. I can see transactional history, which is important. Oh, there's that picture of them and their kids, right? Oh, there's that picture of their dog. Wow, this is a real person. Now we have that connection, kind of more so what I call solidified into the 3 C's, which we'll get into. But that's how that happens, right? So it's your people don't care about market data. Your people don't care about, here's the 5 steps to the home buying process. They care about where can they see themselves plugged into what you're talking about, and can they see themselves in that situation or in that story? And if they can, great. If they can't, they're going to move on.
What would you say to the agent who's newer to the business and may not have, because that's a great example for those of you that are out there that do close a decent amount of deals. Like, you have the content, the real estate content in front of your face. And most of you just lean back on, hey, closing picture. So happy for my clients. You're just throwing it into a diluted world of this, of a sea of sameness is what I like to say. And
White
so
noise, yeah.
how do you get more creative than that? And Michelle just broke it down for you. Like, take each individual transaction and find the story that's behind it and tell the story, or tell the story of the home, or tell the story of the family with as long as they're okay with it, obviously get their approval on this. But that's the idea. And I think a lot of people don't think like that. And so as you talk about this strategy concept, it's right in front of your face. But what if you are newer, or you're struggling? You've gone through a 3 or 4 or 5 month lull without a closing. So now I don't have that recent content. What am I creating content around that is real estate driven, but also is not what you guys said to do, which was annoy my audience with stats or that kind of stuff?
So I just talked to, this is super right in the top of my brain, because I just talked to a lady who came into my network of what I do. And she reached out to me and she's like, I'm a brand new agent. I just got my license, but my husband's a firefighter. He's been a firefighter for 20 years. He's super involved in the community. Every fire wife, every fire husband, like everybody knows everybody in this town. There's no other agents that are married to anybody that is in the station that my husband's in. So I think I have an opportunity here. And I said, 1000% yes. So as an agent, you may be brand new, but you came from somewhere, right? So every agent that became an agent, unless they became an agent at, 18, 20, 22, whatever, it's not their first career in most cases. So you came from somewhere, right? So this particular lady has an opportunity to speak into a population of individuals who have unique issues, right? Unique problems. And I think, my best friend in the world of almost 20 years is married to a firefighter. And I connected my friend with this agent because I said, pick up the phone and call a fire wife and that I know, right, personally, and ask her, hey, when it came to buying or selling a house for you guys, what were some of the things that made you choose to live where you are? And then my girlfriend, Amanda, she just went off on all of these things about how important it is to be close to the station, especially because of holidays and all of these things. So you have opportunities to talk about unique things based off of the industry or the career that you may have come out of. Now, another thing is fire wives, or not fire wives, but people who are in the fire department, they have unique opportunities to buy and sell property, right? They have unique loan opportunities that other people don't have. We call it the Homes for Heroes program. I don't know if it's called that nationwide, but I know for the most part, I believe it is. And that's a really special program for people like that, right? So you may not know anything about selling a house because you've never done it before, but you sure do know a lot about the people who you surround yourself with, and a lot about their struggles and their problems. So serve those people based off their issues. And this may sound stupid, but if you're new in the industry and you're that lady and you are surrounded by a bunch of people in the fire department, pick up the phone and call them. Hey, if you were to buy a house right now, what would be the number one question you have, knowing that your husband or that your wife is stationed here? Ask them, pick up the phone and ask them, like, what happened to like talking to people on the phone? I feel like we've gotten away from that sometimes, especially now.
And then do what? And then do what with it? So once you've done that, what do you do with it as it relates to Instagram?
Yeah. So turn it into what I call a value series. Thank you for pushing me back there, Jeff. So turn it into a value series, right? And what a value series is one topic for the entire month that you break down into 5 individual pieces of content. So let's say you're talking to the fire wife, right? Or you're the firefighter wife who's trying to create a series for that, right? So turn it into a series about the 5 things, or the 5 most important things to think about when buying a home. If you're married to a firefighter. No, but I don't think I've ever seen a series. I've been doing this, guys, for 8 years. I don't think I've ever seen a series about that on Instagram. Yeah. Because people are missing the boat there, right? Sure. And that's a topic where you go into the engagement side of things, which we'll talk about. But it's a topic that nobody talks about because people don't think that anybody wants that. They don't think that that's what people are looking for, when in reality, that's exactly what people are looking for. They're not looking for the new agent who's posting the flyer that's the 5 steps to the home buying process, right? Because it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't add any value or credibility to the person who's posting it. It just as you mentioned, it's just more white noise. You
were going to share your screen. I think we've completely digressed away from it. So I wanted to get you back on that track.
Let me know when you can see it and I'll get into present mode here.
Yep.
Okay. Present. All right. Can you still see it, Jeff?
Yep.
Okay. So I want to talk about engagement specifically. So this is kind of part 2 of what this whole thing was really supposed to be about. But people struggle to grow. People are worried about, why is it so slow? And the number one question that I ask any person that comes into my network is, are you doing engagement yourself? Right? Do you reach out to people? Do you do likes? Do you do comments? Do you do story replies every single day? And I can tell you 97% of people say no. And if they say yes, I've done, I do comments here and there, or I reply to, my friends that DM me, like I'll reply. I check my DMs every now and then just to make sure I don't have any unreads. That's their extent of engagement. And so they wonder why they're sitting in a position to not get anything out of their platform. So when people say, well, Instagram's not working for me, I say, well, you're not giving Instagram the opportunity to work for you because you're not putting the effort into it to get out what it can afford you, right? So what I want to talk about here when it comes to hyper-local engagement, and then on the next screen, I actually have a chart that we build for our students because I think this is really, really powerful. But engagement has to be done every day, right? I'm a super busy person. Jeff, you're a super busy person, but we do engagement every single day, no matter what, without fail. So if you can do it, if I can do it, why can't everybody do it? I think it's an excuse when people say, I don't have time to do engagement, because you're sitting in the line waiting for your Starbucks in the morning. You're waiting to pick up your kids at school. There's so many ways to do this that really structure your engagement. So that you can take the excuses out of it, right? And we'll talk about that on the tracker.
I want to add to that too. I just got done interviewing D-Rock with Tristan on another webinar, and we were talking about Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V, which most of you know who that is. If you don't, you're kind of living under a social media rock. But he is the godfather of social media. And D-Rock mentioned that Gary still does all of his own tweets. He still writes the vast majority, if not all of his captions. And if Gary replies to if you see a comment from Gary V, it's Gary V. So he does all of his own engagement. And if that's not a testament to, that's what it takes. Like, if you want to do this stuff, it's just like, if you want to dominate door knocking or dominate FSBOs or dominate, whatever old timeless strategy there is in real estate, you got to do it hardcore if you want to be good at it and if you want to convert. And it's the same thing that social media is. And what Michelle says is, don't be, I call it lazy. Gary or D-Rock called it disrespect. He calls it disrespecting your audience if you don't engage them. I call it mostly laziness, because I think that's what it is. I don't think anybody's intending to disrespect. I think they're just lazy. And you've got.
I also think it's lack of knowledge more importantly, right? I mean, I think lazy is certainly something we can laugh about, but I also think it truly comes down to just a lack of awareness as far as what it can do for them, right? So if you know and you understand what it can do for you, then you're more likely to do it, right? So for example, like, you want to go work out, right? The first day sucks. Like, you'll probably wake up the next morning and you're going to be super sore. Every part of your body's going to hurt, right? And you're going to be like, man, why would I do that again? But it's just like, if anybody here has ever gone to a CrossFit gym, why do we keep going back to it, right? Why do we keep succumbing to it? Because we know that on the other side of that is the ultimate end goal that we want, right? We want to feel better. We want to sleep better. We want to look better, all the things, right? So that's the same concept of what I'm trying to help people understand, is that it's mostly awareness, right? So if you don't even know what it can do for you, why would you do it? If you're aware of what it can do for you and you tested it, even to the slightest bit, it's going to light that fire in you a little bit. For anybody here, and maybe you guys can comment in the chat box, because I'm curious if you've ever, tell me yes or no. Have you ever gotten a lead off Instagram, right? Just comment in the chat box, yes or no. Because I'm curious how many of you would say yes to that or no. But my point to continue that is if you say yes, I would imagine that would light your fire up a little bit and be like, well, if I got one, I can get another one, right? As new agents, if I can get one deal, I can get another deal, right? So it creates that like, I can do this, and it makes you want to keep doing it. But if you've never gotten a lead, then it makes sense why you might be a little bit more like, man, I'm frustrated, or why would I even do that? Why would I even take the time to do what Michelle or Jeff is saying to do? It looks like we got a couple coming in. Edgar says yes, Daniel says no, Dean says no, Kelly says no, Sam says no, Jay says no, all the no's, right? So nobody go anywhere, because I have something really special for you guys at the end, so just hang in there with me. But my point there is that for all of you guys who said no, it's an awareness issue, right? It's an awareness of understanding what doing your own engagement can do for your business and for your platform. So this is going to lead into the third bullet here on the screen. And you know, Jeff, you've been around me for a long time, and you know how passionate I am about this third part here. But creating connection with your people leads to conversations starting. Conversations ultimately turn into conversion, right? If we're not conversating on the platform, meaning if we are not engaging, if we are not having conversations on our platform daily, do not expect to generate leads, period, right? And that means, to Jeff's point, to my point, to D-Rock's point, do it yourself, right? You can certainly hire a company to help you manage creation of all of your content and all of those things, and there's lots of opportunity there. And you know, I do that every day. We have an entire VIP program, but the people who are in that program are not out of the woods, right? They don't get to just hands off. I don't ever have to open my Instagram again. They still have to be involved in the process. So that's what we're talking about here, is if you want to convert on Instagram, you have to be willing to have conversations. Conversations spur out of creating connection between me and you, and back and forth, right? Now I'm going to slide over to this slide quickly and show you guys something, right? So this is a very small snapshot of a tracker that we create for our clients, right? So whether you're a course student or a VIP client, you have access to learning how to do this. And what this does, right, when it comes to awareness or understanding of how to engage, or if you should even be engaging, people don't do it because they feel like it's a time suck. They're like, Michelle, I don't have time to do engagement every single day. Who has time for that, right? The reason that most people feel that way is because they don't have a system in any way to lead gen, right? Meaning they don't even know where to start, right? If I wake up on Monday and Michelle says I'm supposed to do 45 comments and 23 replies, how the hell am I supposed to do that, right? This tracker, when you build it for yourself, is designed to help you wake up on a Monday, wake up on a Tuesday, wake up on a Wednesday, and have a starting point. Because Jeff, I mean, I'm going to stop here and let you answer this question, because I know you're going to answer it well. But like when you get started having conversations or leaving comments, like it's hard to stop, right? Because you're kind of going down this wormhole of like, oh my gosh, look at this, or you're clicking into this next post, or you're clicking into that. And next thing you know, you look down at your phone and you're like, man, I've been on Instagram for 45 minutes.
Yeah. What's the question?
Just like, that's the whole point, right? And I don't even know if it was specifically, maybe it was a rhetorical question, but the
Yes.
point being that if you have a starting, let me ask it to you this way, just for sake of conversation, right? How much easier would it be for you to do your 45 comments and 20 story replies every day if you woke up and you knew exactly which account you were supposed to start on?
Yeah. I was going to say, I think it's got more to do with intentionality of what is your intention when you open social. And so many of us open social and it becomes a rabbit hole. And what Michelle teaches and what she coaches is that if you're intentional about it, I don't know if I said that right, intentionality maybe is better, but then you are going to social media so for me, I'll answer the question. The reason why I open most social apps is for two reasons. One is creation. That's number one. I'm posting. Number two is connection. It's managing notifications. It's commenting. It's responding. That's how I spend my time on social. And number three is being intentional with my scrolling. So I'm either scrolling to find people to connect with, or I'm intentionally scrolling to find inspiration, to find new content. And so I think I don't know that there's another reason why you really should be on social if you truly want to use it for business. Now, don't get me wrong. There are times when I just time suck it and I go on TikTok and I just watch videos and I laugh, but by and large, it's intentional. And I think if everybody treats the problem, in my opinion, and especially in real estate and probably any business, is you don't think of social media like you think about prospecting. You know, if you say tomorrow, I'm going to go spend 2 hours walking a neighborhood door knocking, you're very intentional about exactly what you're doing. But why don't you think the same way and say, well, tomorrow I'm going to spend 2 hours, quote unquote, door knocking on social media? It's the same concept.
I literally posted about this on my Instagram. If for those of you guys who are not following me, Berman Media Social, I changed my names to make it easy, but I literally posted about this on my page a week ago, saying that engagement on Instagram is prospecting. Treat it that way, right? If you do your engagement every single day in an intentional way based off of how you want to generate clients and where you want to generate clients from, it should be a non-negotiable in your calendar, right? I have an unbelievable amount of experience in this part, but also, you know, on a coaching call on Friday last week, for example, one of our clients said he's really good at time blocking and he hasn't filled his tracker out yet, which is what you guys are looking at on the screen. And Jeff, you know who this is, Brian Bolger, right? A great friend of both of ours. Yeah. Brian hasn't gotten a lead off Instagram yet. And he was like, well, Michelle, like my content's great. I know I'm doing a good job. And I said, Brian, pull your tracker up. His tracker was blank, right? He didn't have he didn't have categories set up. He didn't have an intentional, this is where I'm supposed to spend my time. And I said, okay, so are you doing your 45 comments and 20 story replies every single day? And he's like, not really. I do like maybe 10 or 15 because honestly, I don't really know where I'm supposed to be doing them. And so we spent the next hour building his tracker so that he can be super intentional with where he goes to engage. And I said, Brian, how much time every single day during your week do you spend prospecting? Brian's a loan officer. He goes from 9 to 10 a.m. every single morning. I'm cold calling every single morning, no matter what. And I said, okay, so from 9 to 10, you're going to cold call. From 10 to 10:30, you're going to do 45 comments on Instagram. And it now has to be a non-negotiable in your calendar, because if you're going to prospect on the phone, why can't you prospect on Instagram doing the exact same thing? And ask yourself this question one step further. How many calls can you make in an hour and actually have genuine conversations that, you can talk to people, right? Not nearly as many as you can comments, or not nearly as many conversations can be had in that time frame as comments can be left, right? Meaning you have an opportunity to triple, quadruple, times 5, times 10 the amount of conversations you can have in a week by leveraging engagement. So the way that I set up this tracker, we don't need to get into the weeds of it, but what you guys see is a sample of an agent who lives in Irvine. Her number one ideal client is a move up buyer or somebody who is in an engineering field who's trying to move into Irvine, right? And Irvine, as many people may or may not know, it's a very hard neighborhood to get into or city to get into, because the price point's ridiculous. 2, everybody's moving there, right? Because it's a tech software industry area, right? There's also a very large university there. So it's really hard to find good, affordable housing in this area. So this is a sample, right? So week 1 for her on Mondays, when she does her 45 comments and 20 story replies, she's doing nothing but engaging with people who are already following her, right? So this is essentially loving on your existing audience, which is what D-Rock sounds like he was saying to you, Jeff, right? Is staying in touch with your people. Do not forget about the people that you already have when you're trying to grow on Instagram. For her, she gets a ton of business from where she adopted her Great Dane, right? So she has 2 Great Danes. One of them is a rescue from this rescue agency. And when she was doing her homework assignment of where her last 10 transactions were coming from, a lot of them actually ended up being referrals from others and other people who had adopted Great Danes from this particular rescue. So she had connection there, right? So we gave that an entire day on her tracker. So on Tuesday, she's doing nothing but engaging on hashtags and geotags, which is what you guys can see here about halfway down, it switches. And this is a filled in tracker. So the blank one looks a little bit different, right? It's going to be hashtags, geotags, and then actual accounts, which you guys can see over here, right? So hashtags, geotags, and then accounts would be the third category. Again, this is just a sample, but Wednesday being local restaurants for your ideal client, right? So this particular client of ours, her name is Regina. She happens to be of Asian descent, and a lot of her clients are Asian, right? Or of that descent, right? And she preferably wants to work with those people. Those are her people. She loves them. She has almost all of her business is people that don't necessarily speak English. So she has a ton of relation with that. So when we were saying, you know, where do you go, Regina, that you can create relationships, or that you have relationships that we can leverage? And she goes, well, all of, like, you know, the Asian inspired or Thai inspired restaurants. That's where my husband and I go. We don't really go anywhere else. We're not a steakhouse person. So I said, great, we're going to have an entire day where we create engagement for you based off of shared interests on places that your people might be hanging out. Thursdays is great parks, right? So that's a small subdivision or area within the Irvine zip code, because those are the two biggest neighborhoods, or one of the two biggest neighborhoods where she has most of her clients that are moving. So you guys can see we have hashtags related to that specific city. We have geotags, which if you're unfamiliar with the term geotag, it just means location or place, right? So on Instagram, you can actually search the place or the address of something and engage with others who have posted or tagged themselves there as well. So all of a sudden, right, we have the way we create these trackers is they're 2-week rotations. So what you guys are looking at as an abbreviated version of week 1. But if you look at this, all of a sudden you have so much more, to use Jeff's phrase, intentionality, right, with how you engage, because you wake up every morning and you know exactly where to start. You take this all away and engagement becomes really scary, right? Engagement becomes really overwhelming. Engagement becomes a time suck. You put this in and you have this laid out. It's, you know, many people in their, whether you're on the real estate side or the loan side, right? Like, you have systems, you have processes that make it easier for you to do what you do every day. This is a system and a process that's involved in prospecting on Instagram that has to get set up. Once you have the system and process set up, all of a sudden it's not so scary and it's not so hard. And it's certainly not nearly as time consuming, because you know exactly where to start. So I don't know if you have anything you want to add, Jeff, but I can talk about this all day.
Well, this is great. And yeah, we do have to be mindful of the time. I do want to say something for those of you that have stayed here, and it's most of you, which is great, which tells me that you're getting something out of this. And because there are so many of you that are relatively new or haven't even started on Instagram, I do want to say this, Michelle, is that, like, you guys are already on Facebook. This isn't any different, but it's another place to connect with more people. And you mentioned Brian. He and I were just talking actually earlier today, because he was talking about, his question for me, Michelle, was it was A, I'm struggling to grow, and B, how do I get my people on Facebook to follow me over on Instagram? And I said, Brian, that doesn't matter. That's not the point. The reason why you're diversifying where you're at is to grow new audiences, because, and D-Rock said this as well, and a lot of us say this, your consumer, AKA your audience, your potential client, the people in your community, your SOI, your family, your friends, they all spend their time differently. Some consume podcasts, some consume long form content on YouTube, some prefer 15-second TikToks, some spend all their time on Instagram, some spend all their time on Facebook. So the idea is not to have the same audience on both channels. The idea is to grow a different audience, because the more eyeballs you get, the more connections you make, the more relationships you create, the more opportunities that are gonna come to you. So this is a massive digression to what you were talking about, but because you're going deep, like, this is really awesome stuff, and I think it's helping people understand, okay, the intentionality behind of why I should be spending my time and how I should be spending my time on social media, specifically Instagram, which is, by the way, folks, if you're not a social media savant like we are, it's the place we send people from every platform by and large,
100%.
Except for Facebook. Like, if I go to TikTok and I say, you want to connect with me, go to my Instagram, because TikTok doesn't have a connection piece, right? So
the messenger piece.
Yeah. It's Instagram's so powerful. So I just wanted to say that, but carry on, because we've got about 15 minutes left.
Yeah. So I want to jump to, because there's a question in the chat box, Kelly saying, how do we set this up and get this? And I'm going to jump to something that we've only done one other time before. And, Jeff gave me permission to share this with you guys. So I think this is something that could be super relevant, and I'm going to speed through this quickly. But this screen, right? So people always ask, on Kelly's asking, how do we set this up and how do we get this? And I actually, coming this Friday, we have a mini course that's launching. So you guys can see that in the corner here. What this mini course is for all of you guys, Instagram and social media, doing anything new is super scary, right? Like, cause you're just like, I don't know how to do anything. I've never had to do this before. It seems overwhelming. We created a mini course that is a 30-day accountability challenge. So it literally lasts from April 1st to April 30th. And in those 30 days, you get this information. So this tracker, we actually teach you how to set it up. It's a miniature version of it, hence the word mini course. But it is 30 days of full power accountability, right? So we have 2 coaching calls, one on April 14th, one on April 28th. And both of those accountability calls, if you will, we're going to answer all of these questions and then some. At the end of the 30 days, you will have the opportunity to level up into our full program. But there are a lot of people who want to put their toes in and they want to know, can I do it before they make that commitment? And that's what this is for. And to go back, right, we were talking about I asked a question in the chat box of people who, have you gotten a lead? Have you not? And everybody said, for the most part said no. And my statement around that was, if you had before, right, it would light you up to keep doing it, right? And this is an example. So on your screen, you guys can see the winner of our mini course challenge last year. So in 30 days, you can see her analytics here. So from April 1st through April 30th versus March 2nd to March 31st, her engagement went up 5,009%. That is not a Photoshop screenshot. That is straight out of Jen's account. So we are talking about somebody who was so fired up after this 30-day challenge that she went all in, right? In 2021, she closed 5 deals off of Instagram. My guess is she'll triple that in 2022. Because if you look her up on Instagram, Jen Thatcher, her Instagram handle is My Realtor Jen. She's hilarious. She's using Reel. She doesn't have to dance or wiggle or sing or any of the things that people are worried about doing. She just shows up. She's consistent, and she's freaking hilarious, right? So this is what I'm talking about, is if you guys had a 30-day challenge where you woke up and you saw this number at the end of those 30 days, I guarantee you guys would be a little bit lighted up to keep it rolling. So I think we should go to question and answers if you want to, Jeff, for the sake of time for the last 10 minutes, but I just wanted people to see this. I'm going to drop, thank you. Somebody already did it for me. Edgar, I was going to mention that you beat me to it. If you guys would like to join the mini course challenge, in the chat box, drop the word enroll, and I will send you guys, after we get off this call, the link to register for the mini course. And I will actually also put it in the chat box for you guys. But I just want to say you guys can do it. And I know you guys can do it. And sometimes it just takes that quick accountability to be able to get there.
Make sure you're putting your email in as well. I do have a question. Yeah, so you mentioned this person right here, who's one of your students. Do you have any other examples? Because I do believe, and we mentioned this in the beginning with Anita, which is, download the app and then go consume. But I think a part of the consumption process is watching others in your field and learning from them, and then picking and choosing various things that you like from 5 to 10 different people, and then making it your own. So it's really it's a big R&D concept, rip off and duplicate. But do you have other people that you could put in the chat to say, go check these people out? This is a great example of people that are doing it, and they're doing it well. And then, hopefully a lot of these people can learn from them. Oh gosh. Yeah. I mean,
the amount of people I could share would bore you guys to death. But I mean, if you look at the lady whose tracker I was recommending there, her name is Regina Chen. She's the agent in Irvine. She's crushing it. She also has a killer YouTube channel. And so they feed into one another, which is wonderful. And that's something that, for sake of time, we don't really have time to talk about that here, but can you do that? Absolutely. And that's something that I think people should be doing more of. So Regina is a great example. Jen is a wonderful example. My #1 grossing real estate agent of all time in my program, her name is Carly McGee. She in 2021 did $7.1 million in real estate off of Instagram directly. So those are leads that landed in her DMs that said, I want to buy or sell a house. Her total volume for the year was 17.1. So 7 of that was off of Instagram I'm not great at math, but that's roughly 40%, right, of her total leads came directly off of Instagram. Not to mention the fact that she's now on ABC, or I think it's ABC News in the Mesa area of Arizona. So she's gotten a ton of opportunities outside of direct, tangible, I want to buy or sell a house leads, right? We call them subliminal leads. Her Instagram handle is Investment Real Estate AZ, Carla McGee, MAGEE. She's super approachable. She's phenomenal. She's just somebody that's super easy to talk to. So if you guys have questions on that one too, I mean, she would be a great person. The list goes on, but I think Carla, Regina, both, those are great, good examples. On the male side, Brian Maynardi, Navy Guy 24/7 _ realty. I'm probably butchering that. He has been one of, if not the highest grossing male real estate agent in our course. He also just got referred a deal from another course student in my program to do a $1.2 million listing in San Diego of a family friend of the guy who lives in Arizona, but he referred to this guy. So that's a good example. Plus, if you guys look at all 3 of these people's feeds, right, you're going to really see that branding is just as important as showing up consistently and doing engagement, right? So all of these are not mutually exclusive. They work in conjunction with one another. And if you guys want a longer list, for sake of time, I'm not going to keep rambling on of names, but I can totally send them to you if you want to DM me too.
Yeah,
I can send you a big list.
DM Michelle on Instagram. Kim asked, actually, there's 2 questions. One was about the cost for the platform. Why don't you ask Juliet asked that first.
Yeah, so the mini course is $297. So it's it's $297 for the 30-day challenge. However, we are doing a really fun giveaway. So whoever wins at the end of the 30 days, and how you quote win, is your analytics are the best over the course of those 30 days. So Jen was the winner of last year's mini course challenge. So she won $250 and a free 1-hour coaching session with my team. So I do have 3 full-time girls that work for me. So we will spend an hour with you on Zoom and deep dive specifically into your business. So you'll win basically your money back plus a free coaching session with my team and I. And then at the end of the mini course, if you decide to enroll in the full program, you can actually use that $297 towards the purchase of the full course if you'd like to.
Awesome. Kim asks, do you have any TCs, transaction coordinators, that have done your program?
Yes, but they are also licensed agents. So a lot of them are like doing transaction coordinating for like a team or for a brokerage, or they're running or helping people run social media kind of at the same time, if that makes sense, which is really common. A lot of TCs typically do both or have their hands in multiple things. But specifically to answer your question, like, can it, or I guess what your question might be is, can it work for you if you're truly just a sole, that's what you do, transaction coordinating?
Yes.
And the answer is absolutely yes, right? So your pillar content is just going to look a little bit different, right? So your pillar content, the value you need to create an ad needs to be rooted in, as a TC, what can you do? What problems can you solve for your agents? And what data can you share? What things can you show to address pain points, right? So if Kim, if that's something that you need help with, please just DM me, please reach out. I'd be more than happy to customize, what that would look like for you. Cause I think, the answer is yes. The long-winded answer, short-winded answer is yes.
All of this stuff's not just for real estate. You all in real estate, we're, as an industry, we're just ahead of the rest of the world. The other industries will be catching up eventually. But Kim, yeah, absolutely. In fact, you'd probably be a unicorn. And so it would present all kinds of opportunities if you did that for your business. And exactly what Michelle said, your content would be built around, beyond the authentic piece, is around solving the pain points. You solve their problem, talk to their problem, they're going to listen, they're going to want to reach out. And it's the same concept with any business for that matter. That should always be one of your pillars of content. Love that.
I mean, and she just, I just saw Kim say that she has a transaction coordinating business.
Mm-hmm.
And what I got to say is, girl, you have a huge opportunity to blow that up on the platform, especially like people don't even know that there are transaction coordinating companies that you can hire to do that, like that you can hire to help, right? I mean, a lot of times people try to go direct and try to reach out and say, hey, do you know anybody that'd be willing to do this for minimum wage? Like, no, hire a professional, right? Like, why would you hire me, or why would you hire Jeff over somebody that you found on Craigslist? Like, because we're doing it, we do it for a living, and we know exactly what we're doing, and we have the results to show it. So I think, Kim, you have an opportunity to position yourself as a leader in the industry, and as an expert in a field that I don't think is talked about enough.
Yeah. Awesome. That's it for questions. If anybody has any other questions, throw them in there right now. We've got about a minute left and we'll wrap things up. Otherwise, Michelle, this has been fantastic. Double check here and make sure if you are an attendee, you have grabbed the links that Michelle has posted. Her at Berman social media, or Berman Media Social is your Instagram handle, correct?
Correct.
And then you also put a link up above, if I'm not mistaken. There is a link at 449. Go grab that. And obviously, if you put your email in there, I'm pretty sure you're going to be hearing from Michelle.
Yeah, I will reach out to you. If you drop the word enroll, I'll reach out to you and help you get set up for the mini course. And also, like I said, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram if you have a unique situation. If you want to just chat about, like, will it work for you, will it not? The answer I can guarantee you is probably yes, but I'll certainly customize it to your situation and make sure that you feel confident moving forward in it.
Yeah, let me challenge the audience too, because I always do this when I speak, and I always tell people, DM me, I'll respond. And so seriously, if you're stuck and you have a question, like these people, we're all resources. And so use it, because not everybody feels the same way. So you heard Michelle today. She's going to practice what she preaches. Reach out to her, connect with her. She's going to help you. And frankly, you should probably just get into the platform, because you're going to learn a hell of a lot, and you're going to be like everybody else. You're going to grow your business the way you should be growing it. The last thing I will say, Michelle, is this. If you look at where the world is going and how the industry, specifically real estate, is evolving, all of the technology that's coming is designed to replace you, the human being. And the one way you can counteract that is building a strong presence on social media. That's one place that robots will never be able to replace you. And so just being here today, you're one step ahead of most in your industry. So I applaud you. And thank you, Michelle, for being here. This is awesome. And I look forward to doing this again.
Yeah, I'm super excited that we had this time. And I love that whenever you and I talk, Jeff, it goes in a billion different directions in a good way. But for those of you guys who are here, thank you for letting me pour into you. Thanks for hearing Jeff and I go on tangent after tangent, because that's how we do. But super excited to connect with you. I will be the one to return your message if you send me one. So looking forward to it. And then whenever we get to do this again, I will see you guys then.
Have a great rest of the day.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.